Alright guys, so today I'm going to teach you how to jack off your doors. So, I'm sorry, that was like the stupidest fucking joke, but I just couldn't help myself. You got the dogs out here, I got the olds outside. So I already adjusted the door, because I figured it's almost useless to try to record this. But both doors open really good, they don't sag anymore, obviously we got pins. Move some of the shit out of the way. So, it opens really good. As you can see, she wants to jump in. Dogs love going for a ride. She just fart? Jesus. So, this opens real nice and easy. Ava, get your head out of the way. Opens really good. Our gap is okay. I mean, late 70s GM standards weren't the greatest, so I'm just going to live with this until I do it, and then I'm going to weld in rod here and close up the gaps and even them out, because down here, you know, like, this freaking molding is in the way, and it almost hits the door, so it doesn't hit. The gap is even, you know, it's not bad. The other side's good too. The other side actually fell right into place. But this is why I say it's easier to do it with the fenders off, because you have full articulation of the hinges. You can adjust the hinges on the door side up, down, in, and out. You can adjust the body side up, down, front to back. And this is a heavy ass door. So what I usually try to do is, for starters is, I kind of try to locate the striker where it's gonna need to be put, right? So I brought this striker up. The dogs clearly want to be in on this. So I brought the striker up to where I kind of needed it. So let me close the door. Dogs, move. So, and I use the body line for reference. It's pretty close, but again, part of the problem is that these doors came from a different car. This car's been worked on. So right now, all I'm after is getting the doors to close and open nicely, getting my body lines pretty close. I don't know how much filler we had in these quarters when we did it in high school. So, but these gaps on both sides are the same, approximately. And you got to look at all your openings. So usually if you're, and again, another reason why I kind of didn't want to make a video adjusting it is because there's inconsistencies with this car where when I redo the bodywork, I almost need to start from scratch. I'm looking for new doors and then adjust the doors. And if you're doing this and you got your car blown apart, you always adjust back to front. So you set the back, you get your body lines good, right? And obviously if the gap from the quarter panel to the door is big at the top and small at the bottom, then you know you need to go up. So don't worry about getting this line straight just yet. Just get your striker set up till you can get these lines to line up. And then the tall tale sign that's going to tell you which way you need to go is looking at your gap, which you can't really look at it on this car because I have the chrome moldings. You need to look at your gap between the door and the rocker panel. So usually your rocker panel, assuming that it's there and it really hasn't been fucked with, is straight. It will also gauge you that. So if you're going to be tight at the bottom because your door is high up to match this, then in theory, the bottom of the front of the door should be down. And if that's the case, then all you need to do is loosen up your hinge on the body side, grab a jack, a block of wood, support the hinges in the door, loosen up both hinges, jack it up, get your door, your gap to look nice and even. Sometimes you can break up like stir sticks, like paint sticks, and hey boy, and use them for reference. See how nice and tight they pull across the door, and you know you should. Oh, she farted again. So you should get a nice like drag across the whole way, right? Or you can measure it too. If you got metric tape measures work really good for this because it's literally cut hairs you're measuring with, and so that way you can use the back of the quarter panel edge to the door and the bottom of the rocker panel to set your main gap. And if those two things are square, your door needs no more movement. Unless your door frame is bent, which usually these door frames do get bent up in the process over the years. You can move them around. But do keep in mind that if you move your frame, you're going to have to readjust your glass, which you can do that. And so Once you get that set, you put your fenders on and you set them up. Now the way I like to do this, I did this recently on the 57 Bel Air I'm working on at work. I measure the width of the hood. Get it close, right? You measure from edge to edge. And you make sure that your gaps look good and that your center opening in between the fenders is going to allow you enough adjustability for the hood to drop in and you to not have to drop or move the fenders. So that's the idea. You want to keep it square. So what you want to do, you put your fenders on, you get your gap set, right? You got your core support on, and you have to imagine this. I'm going to be doing this tomorrow evening probably. We're going to go fishing during the day because wife's got quarantine fever. Not fever because from Rona, she's got like quarantine cabin fever. So we're going to go ahead, put our core support on, put our fenders on, get a nice gap. And then you got to figure, this car should look pretty straight down the side. I mean, it does have a little bit of a convex shape to it, but you're going to want to look for evenness. The same thing, if the fender's too low at the front, it's going to be tight at the bottom. If it's too high at the front, it's going to be tight at the top. So you want to make sure that it's even. And if you can't adjust it, on the bolt holes, then you're going to have to shim up or shim down the core support. And this is important. There hasn't been a hood that I haven't been able to put on this way like I explained to you guys, but once you get your front fenders on and you're able to, like if you measure your hood side to side, then you measure between the fenders and you have an adequate amount of clearance, right? So let's say you got, let's call it usually 3/16. You multiply that by 2, let's see, 3/16 on each side. That's a pretty decent sized gap. So let's go for quarter, right? So you figure you're going to set up your measurement. So let's say theoretically your measurement is 54 3/4. You're going to add a 1/2 inch to that. You're going to be at 55 1/4 because the 1/2 inch, or I might have done the math wrong, but either way, you guys get the point. So if you're going to add a 1/2 inch to 54 3/4, then yeah, you'd be 55 1/2. So you're going to be 55 1/2 between the openings of the fenders. Now, you want to make sure that you're square. So usually at work, quick measurement of, usually between the core support and firewall on cars, we would use a tram gauge. Well, you can use a simple tape measure and use a good reference point. Like, you find something, unfortunately on this car, this firewall is asymmetrical, so you might have to use a corner, like these two corners back here on the firewall are the same. You can roughly get a measurement from there to a good corner on the front of the core support, and you cross measure. If there's any difference, it's going to be longer on one end. And if you need to move it, you don't move it that exact amount. You got to split it down the middle because you got two different cross points. So if you do a cross measurement and you're a 1/2 inch longer on one side, then you need to go a 1/4 inch this way to split the difference, and then your front end will be square to those reference points. Usually it's how we do it at work. We get a core support when you install it, and you want to kind of square it up. Usually on modern core supports, they mount onto the front frame horns. So you center them on the bolt holes, and then you go ahead and then we do a cross measurement to kind of set them up in there so that we know where we're starting at. And then when we put our fenders and our hood and our hinges, we can move it a little bit, but we know that our core support was installed dead center on the car as close as possible. Some of these newer cars are asymmetrical sometimes. It's very rare, but we do get some cars that are like that where it doesn't quite work out because they got strut towers that are slightly different in design from one side to the other. They're not picture perfect from mirror image. So that's my advice on lining up doors. Hopefully I didn't blast through it and made it too long, but essentially when you set up your doors of the quarter panel, you're looking at the back gap of the door and the bottom of the rocker panel. If those two things are even and you're happy with them, you're ready to put a fender on that side. And then same thing on the other side. But ideally you want to set up both your doors, put your core support in, and start with one fender, get it set up close. Don't do it perfect because you might have to shift the core support to get this fender to fit. And then you set this one up close, and then you start fine-tuning both kind of at the same time. little by little, you measure the centers, give yourself enough room so that down the road, when you're ready to put your hood on, you know that your opening in between the fenders gives you adequate clearance to not have to move the fenders. So that way, all you have to do is, you know that when you go to put your hood on, the only thing you're going to have to adjust is your hood and your latch and your bump stops. So that's about it. The dogs agree. They're ready to go back outside. They wanted to come in here and we closed the door, and they're just in here. So that's kind of our update, little tutorial, I guess, if you want to even call it that, or advice. But what I plan on doing is, I mentioned earlier, we're going to go fishing tomorrow, early in the morning, probably a good chunk of the day. And in the evening, I'm going to come out here, probably start putting stuff on. I think tonight I'm going to try to at least get the core support set up and bring some parts out here like my fenders, and then little by little I'll truck all the other shit from the basement, like the inner fender wells. I know I'm going to need bolts for them. They're all metric stuff too, so I don't know exactly what I need yet. Once I start putting them on, I'm probably going to have to buy hardware. A lot of the what they call fender nuts, the U nuts, I know I need those. Just don't know how many I need. So hopefully by the end of this weekend, I would at least have the front end back together, and then I can go forward with our wiring and our brakes. And then we're pretty much, once we get the hood on, I mean, bleed the brakes, do all that stuff, we're pretty much set to hit the road. Sunday, I'm picking up some rear wheels for this. It's a debacle with parts right now. I haven't even seen any single parts I ordered from Jegs that I ordered a week ago, which due to the current situation with the COVID-19, I guess it is what it is. But the tires I ordered from Coker are also on back order. I don't know when the fuck I'm going to see those. They said June. So I want the tires. I guess I'll just have to wait. But the local tire shop I know has 205 75 15s in stock, used in good shape for like 30 a pop. So I'm just going to do that for now. And then on the back, I'm picking up some wheels, and hopefully the Nittos, which are not on back order, show up next week sometime, and I'll have some rear tires. And then we'll be able to at least get the car back on the ground, and we can get this thing closer to drive. I think we're really close here, and it's just down to the last little details. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this project. I know from the beginning, and I keep saying this the closer we get, that I kind of set an end date of like May, some point in May. Mid-May I think is pretty good. We don't got a lot left, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. I want to thank you guys who have been following along, subscribing, commenting. If you guys got any questions, go ahead, let us know. Concerns, I guess, too. But yeah, share, like, subscribe. If you think somebody can enjoy this, send them our way, and we're going to continue to make little videos like this, and try to not be overly preachy. I know I can ramble on, but I don't think it's preachy. You get a lot of guys right now during this whole COVID-19 thing that their projects are stalling, and they're doing some ridiculous things just to keep viewership up, and we're going to try to just maintain our stuff. Once this car's done, there's some work I need to do to the olds before we hit the track, and we'll document that as well. I got to put a rev limiter in it, and I think after this season we're going to pull the motor out of the olds and go through it, and I think it's going to just need a checkup and make sure everything's good. There's a couple things I want to change out as well when the engine's out, but for now, everything is as is on the olds, and we're just going to continue to run it like that. So share, like, subscribe, follow along, hit the like button, and we'll update you guys hopefully on Sunday, see where we get, and if there's anything interesting, I'll make some videos about it.